Hey,
Maestro,
what's
you're
going
on
on?
here. How are you?
Good.
You at work right now or you home?
No, I'm home. Just trying to figure out why my camera's not working. All right, they went into sleep mode. Hopefully, it wakes up. All
There you
right,
go. There he is.
cool.
How was your day? Or how's your day going? I
Didn't
guess
get
3 hours ago.
as much done as I wanted to. I did read a lot, which is helpful, but in terms of the startup, it's moving slower than I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I'm sure with everything going on, right? I mean, just in
yeah,
the economy in general.
it's a complicated situation, I'll say.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
People
there's some
still on
interesting
Ethereum.
names in here.
Yeah. Hey, Carlos. Steve isn't jumping on this, is he? I didn't ask him.
I don't
Probably not.
think so.
Yeah.
I'm also expecting calls, so I'll try to
Yeah. Do what you
be
got to do.
prepared to deflect until the end of the hour.
All right. You get pummeled with questions. Then,
I know.
hey, I just got info on this free mint. If you're interested, I posted it's super fried chicken. They're actually going to be minting on the 18th. I'll send you a couple of other details behind the scenes that you'll find interesting.
Indeed.
Yeah, some fun. These guys they're pretty talented. They think they can pull like a goblin town.
Man, I tried Googling it for some reason. I just typed super fried chicken and it gave me all these restaurant results. And now I kind of want to eat some fried chicken tonight. Probably
And
should have added.
actually, they posted on their Twitter account that today is National Fried Chicken Day, which is just
Well,
bizarre. There's a day for everything, right?
there is. It's very easy to
Yeah.
make a proclamation, but
Yeah. I like where the guys are headed, though. There's a pretty organic following. There's like, I don't know, maybe there's only like 3,200 followers so far, but they have their act together.
I'm talking to a few projects actually that are doing NFTs, but they're
Mhm.
all trying to do like club or like a membership base.
Yeah.
And what they want to do is like connect high net worth people or famous people
Mhm.
together. And I mean, like you don't necessarily need an NFT for that because the
No.
problem is once you make it decentralized, then you don't know which members you're getting, right? And maybe there's a high entrance fee, but at some
Right.
point you don't really know who the members are, right?
Yes.
Unless you start vetting them or have commits in the
Mhm.
beginning. And yeah, it's because like it's a great use case for NFTs, but there's obviously a trade-offs to make it completely decentralized, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's nice to bring in that revenue, I guess the mint revenue.
Yeah.
That's probably the allure of bringing that in. And, people see that. But I've seen that in a couple of projects now, a few of them.
And one of these was in SF, and I met with
Oh, okay.
well, it was cool because they were saying like come to this dinner beforehand, and then we'll talk about
Yeah.
like the NFT and
Mhm.
Sergey Brin and
Yeah.
so CEO, used to be CEO
Mhm.
or co-founder of Google, and then
Right.
CEO of Reddit were at that dinner. So I'm like, damn, this is indeed a very special group.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy. That he would be at that dinner? That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I don't think it was for the NFT itself, but
Yeah, but yeah. Okay.
well, Julio, you have your camera settings there.
Hello, how are you guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Cool. How's everything going?
It's a slow day, which is, sometimes you need these slow days. But overall, it's good. I think your mic is a little farther off than usual. Your voice is a little lower.
Yeah.
Oh no, same here, but I mean another one.
right. So, hey, it's 6 o'clock and I am going to respect your time and just everyone's time. And we're gonna get started. So as we did last month, and we're really trying to make this a situation where everyone there's a forum so that we can communicate and talk to you, and you can obviously hit us with questions and talk about things like the newsletter. So we're going to try to do things like this after giving you a couple of days to digest. The newsletter is always amazing, and this month is no exception. There's just a wealth of information in there. Jeff pours us, put so much, sweat and tears into just doing all that. So we really appreciate the effort and the time. I don't see any of that anywhere out there. I've showed my close friends what we have, and they're like, "That's amazing." People that have been in the crypto space, people that are leaders in the crypto space, more on the NFT side, in GameFi world. But I think it's important that we do stuff like this, and it's incumbent upon everyone really to get familiar with what's in there, the contents of such. So we obviously, questions don't have to be related to that. You could be asking something that's a little off topic, but it would be great if we could steer some questions to Jeff's top picks in there, top coins, macro view of things that he talked about in the newsletter and such. So did anyone want to kick things off with a question? Kenny, my man, what's up? So I don't see any questions yet, but if somebody wants to just ask a question, you're more than welcome to do that in terms of raising your hand. You don't have to write it in the chat, whatever's easier for you.
Probably we didn't make enough communication around this because there's a lot less people in this this session than last time. Because I wasn't in
time
the
zones too.
Yeah, but it wasn't mentioned much in the chat. That's probably why.
Yeah. We mentioned it a couple of times, but maybe not as as frequent.
Yeah, I mean, this is like also rough times, right? So we want to have some at least more engagement to make sure everybody's okay. And I think this past month was a lot less tumultuous. Obviously, there's the whole Celsius 3AC stuff happening, but overall, things look fairly stable relative, right, to the previous couple months. And even stock market is also kind of aligned right now. It's very tightly coupled with crypto. And I think the increase in both stock market and crypto right now is likely due to gas prices falling, right? It might be a temporary drop. We don't really know. But markets have itchy trigger fingers, and there's a ton of cash on the sidelines. So what happens is if there's any indicator that the CPI is going to improve, people are just going to start pouring in money, right? So that's what we're seeing in the markets right now. And I think overall it's optimistic, but we do need the actual data, right? I think what markets are anticipating, and that's what they're good at. Markets are great at anticipating what the data could be. So that's again, just to explain the behavior. I posted the gas comment just like yesterday or 2 days ago, and everything is very much in line with what I said, right? Everything is coming back up because there's an anticipation that CPI might go down, which means Fed would ease back on rates, and then everything else would kind of go up, reprice the market, right? So that's kind of like my quick summary of what I'm seeing.
Super interesting. You noted in the newsletter, and I didn't even realize this, when you said you had not seen the fear and greed index ever hit 6.
I don't think that low.
Yeah, but I mean, pretty wild, even just past 2 months. But you're right. I mean, things definitely do look a little bit more stable. You keep noting about how you see things like ETH trading, between maybe 1,000 and going between 1,250, 1,300, somewhere in that range. Yeah. So and it makes a lot of sense.
It might get adjusted higher if there's more data to show that inflation kind of stabilized, right? Right. So if like CPI, for example, goes below, let's say like 8.3, then we might actually see Ethereum go between like 1,200 and 1,500 instead, right? And then it's probably going to wait there until the next set of data happens. Yeah. So that's kind of like the market's behavior right now. It's just waiting, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I even thought it was
more
institutions.
Oh, sorry, Jim.
No,
Do you think
go ahead.
Jeff and Jim, more institutions will have problems as we've seen with 3AC and all the others?
Yes, I think there's definitely exchanges that are hiding their balance sheets, and we don't know if they can survive with that. SBF from FTX said there's already
You
some
said
other
that in the
exchanges.
newsletter. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
we
just a
we don't
warning.
know exactly what that means and what other smaller exchanges are in trouble or not. So like basically the summary is you should probably just hold your money in your own wallets.
Yeah,
I think the
Ledger
larger exchanges
personally-
are okay, but you never know, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
with
became
you.
this year a Ledger Maxi. It's definitely the safest way to keep money, and I would recommend everybody to keep most of the money there. I feel really safe keeping my money in my Ledger.
Yeah, I have it spread out in a lot of places now. So it's funny. Sometimes I make deals and it's like, oh, we need some capital. And I'm like, oh crap, let me look through the different
Same.
wallets. And
Same.
yep,
Happens all the time.
with all this cross chain stuff too. I did some reading today on cross chains. There's like a whole bunch of paths now with like Axelar and Chainlink has one coming up actually. I think it's called CCIP. And then there's also Layer Zero, of course. And these are all up and coming. I think the next quarter, it's all going to be about layer twos and cross chain stuff. But it also makes it much more confusing where the money is stored, right? So.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I agree with
Hey,
you.
you have-
Chainlink is going to keep growing. I've been following
we should listen to
Chainlink,
Stefan, I guess.
and I feel really bullish about Chainlink. It's starting to
We have some
accumulate
noise.
these
So,
levels.
yeah, can somebody mute them? So I don't know who it is. I'm just muting people. I don't know who that
Let
is.
me check.
Yeah, if you go to participants, Jim, you can
Yeah.
set, you can allow people to unmute
So-
themselves, and you can set that when they join the meeting that
It's
they're muted
probably
automatically.
Wilco. I think it's Wilco who has open micro.
So
Okay.
just to answer
Thanks,
the first
Philippe.
question on the right, Deribit I haven't used personally, but
Neither have
I
I.
have heard good things. It's like the standard for options in the crypto space. And one thing to note with options is basically the strategy in general with options is to know the timeline, the time horizon, and also the strike price and in which direction you want to do. So if you want to do complicated strategies, you can hedge like a range. Like I think Ethereum is going to be in this range, for example, and then do a
Right.
set of options to measure for that. Or if it's directional completely, like, oh, I think Bitcoin's just going to go to the moon, then it's like you buy out of the money call options, right? So the thing is, options are extremely complicated.
Yeah.
I used to trade options for fun,
Yeah.
but with crypto, it's probably going to be very high premium. And I think like you just have to know like exactly the time horizon and the price that you want it to be at the time horizon as well. That's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I've never tried that with. I would. Yeah, doing that in crypto is a little bit different on the traditional stock market. Yeah, different story.
I have sold calls with I think it was Dopex. Dopex has like the ability to just like, yeah, I'm just reading Sean's comment. Sorry, to just like put like stake an ETH and then sell a covered call on it, and then somebody else will buy
Right.
that call, and you can just earn like passive revenue from that. But I didn't put that much. I was just playing with it, and then I think Coinbase is actually coming up with a options market too. So I don't see it live yet, but I see like Coinbase / derivatives is something that is new. I think it just came out like a few weeks ago. Something to check out.
Okay. You also had a great, your section in there on shorting. I think was really fabulous. You said it was something that you've wanted to talk about for some time, and I think you really simplified it. I think for people, to and encourage them maybe to try it. But you talked about the risks, that are there, so you laid everything out. And I see a couple of people are, I had people personally reached out to me and they love that part. And I see like Philippe and a few others that maybe had some reservations and they're willing to, get their feet wet and try that. I thought that was fabulous.
Just right before KuCoin had like fears of insolvency, but overall it's it's okay. So far it looks okay.
Yeah, and leverage too. Yeah, you're right, Philippe. Absolutely. Yep. Anybody with questions? I mean, here it is. You have an opportunity. You see a question there?
Yeah, TL, do you want to go ahead and ask.
Please
Yeah,
go.
thanks. So kind of two-part question on the kind of what you're touching on of like the cross chain, being a big narrative or whatever you want to call it in the next quarter or so. First on Rune, which is kind of a cross chain in that kind of area. In one of your recent videos or newsletters, I forget where, you mentioned something about Rune being a synthetic. You're like, oh, it's supposed to be native, but it's actually synthetic or something. So I just wondered if you could clarify that, because all my understanding was that it was actually native tokens that you were swapping. So just wondered if you could kind of maybe delve a little deeper into how it's synthetic or what I'm missing on that front. And then also on the second part of the question is where are you kind of placing bets as far as what's going to be successful in this whole cross-chain narrative that you see coming?
Yeah. So to answer with Thorchain, I actually have not played with it as much as I should be. And a lot of it they claim is native swaps, but obviously native swaps, you need the actual assets. Like you have to actually hold them in your self-custodial wallets. So that's one thing that I'm not exactly sure if I can answer accurately. But it does have different, like it says it's native, but it doesn't seem like it's native when you're actually doing it on their interface. So I don't know exactly whether or not Thorchain is native, even though they say it is, right? With cross-chain in terms of bets, I think the simple one is Chainlink, because Chainlink has an upcoming cross-chain protocol coming out that looks very good. It's like very clean, and it uses its existing infrastructure with oracles, their servers there to be the relayer of information. With other cross-chain protocols, there's actually a lot of trade-offs they have to make, which is having relayers of the native chain that have to use up a lot of gas, or for example, Nomad, it has like a 30-minute delay to get a message across chains, or with Axelar, which is like a very centralized hub that when data comes in, like it's a single point of failure. So in terms of looking at all these cross-chain projects, probably Chainlink is like one you could speculate on, but the problem is Link already has a very high market cap. And Axelar, I don't think the token is out yet, but that would be a good something I'd probably buy up if it became available in any way. So hopefully those
Axelar
answers.
has been part of a lot of hackathons in different layer ones, and they are really adding a lot of value to cross-chain. So I think they will be one of the biggest one, and Chainlink too. Keep it there.
Philippe.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, hey guys, good to see you. Good to chat. Everything tends to make me a little nervous.
There's a lot of wind, by the way, Philippe, just to be aware of.
See if I can get out of the wind. It's been a windy year. Is that better?
That's great. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so I know everybody. I was trying to be conservative as much as possible, and kind of you got to take a few risks to make some money, but trying to protect the assets and looking at what's going on right now. And I've read your comments, Jim's comments. Macro just does not look good, right? So we've got these movements. You've got this pretty big pump today. Bitcoin's going up and testing new levels. I'm just wondering if you feel like that there's going to be pullback before the new news, and how long this little relief pump may last. Do you think this is kind of going to be the new trend, or are we just going to have everybody have things pull back and people selling back to cash and waiting on the news date on the inflation numbers and Fed movement like last month?
Yeah, so I think the current market is in a very much waiting for data mode, but there are other sources of data other than gas prices or CPI or interest rate hikes, right? There's company earnings announcements, right? There's like different protocols coming out that just have no like history, like they're good like speculative bets, right? Like right now, Juno and Atom and all those things are kind of going up because of they haven't been looked at by the public. and now they're finally showing some value, and people are buying them, right? So in general, the next indicator I'm looking at is earnings for companies, and in my view, I'm hoping the companies were pretty conservative in putting out their forecasts, right? I would think they would look at the recession is coming, we're laying off people, so therefore our earnings should be very soft. And then hopefully the idea is that they've overcorrected, right? And they gave conservative guidance. And as we get the earnings reports, they're actually showing that things are relatively okay. But if there is a major slowdown, or if they guide even much worse, that's the kind of data where you got, like, if you have any crypto, you're just like, well, I'm going to sell off a little more rather than hold it, because it's not looking like the economy is getting any better, right? On the flip side, though, I think the main issue right now is inflation and CPI, right? So if you see any indicators, and I pointed out the gas prices and the oil prices for that matter, coming down, which is actually a great indicator for CPI going lower. Store stuff has like max inventory right now, right? So
Yep.
a lot of stores are just like letting you keep your item if you try to return it, because that's like they just don't have anywhere to put it if you returned it.
Yeah.
So that leads me to believe, like, if there's major inventory, they're probably gonna have to lower their prices as well. And maybe, like, I think food prices were spiking up because of Ukraine and Russia. They're like a very big wheat producers, but I think wheat prices have also started coming down as well, right? So if that is the case, hopefully, and I'm again not saying we have, hopefully inflation has peaked. And if we keep getting supporting data that inflation has peaked, then the markets right now, I mean, the markets are behaving like that it has peaked,
It's
right?
peaked. Yeah.
But we don't know for sure. Like the markets always anticipate more than they know something, because if you know something, the market's already going to be there, right? So the market's anticipating that we're looking better, and we're just gonna have to keep looking at the data as it comes. But I think I'm going to start buying on any dips now. I mean, I have been buying on dips, but I just haven't, like this last month, I actually don't think I made that many moves, mainly because it was like sideways for a while. But and then I was just trading Ethereum. But other than that, like I haven't been like throwing huge sums of money at anything other than like indexes and Ethereum for that matter. Yeah, so that's kind of my summary to the question.
So when are the earnings coming out, reports?
It should be soon, I think. Just looking at, like, let me just type in earnings calendar in Google, and then let's see here. I think NASDAQ ones are going to be the ones that are interesting. Yeah, they're starting as soon as next week, but I think later is when there's more. Like the next 2 weeks doesn't look like that many. So once we get to like mid-July, yeah, so about next week, you'll start seeing the bank earning reports like Wells Fargo, Citigroup, BlackRock, US Bank Corp. They're on July 15th. So like that's in a week. So we should know next week what the data looks like. That's also after the CPI number. CPI number's on the 13th. So we will definitely see some market movement before next Wednesday, right? Like, or on Wednesday for that matter. Is like it's gonna be like a very choppy time.
All right, can I just tag on to that? I mean, it just seems like people are, basically we just have to hedge our bets, right? You're waiting for the numbers, but it's almost impossible to get ahead of the numbers, which you kind of need to do to pick the direction. So we're just saying it's safer. It's safer just to wait, see where it goes, and then get in, or then you kind of miss out on some things. So that's why I'm trying to get educated on how do you guys try and determine which way it's going to break before it actually breaks. Like sometimes you post a video and you're like, dang it, it's already moving. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, markets move fast, right? Especially with crypto, because it's 24/7. What I would say to that is you can be partially in, and being partially in makes you have skin in the game and you won't feel as much FOMO. If you're not the type to do that, like you have to be completely in a position and not in a position, it's probably better just to wait in cash. There's a bias towards cash being on the market downside. And you can't lose money if you're holding cash, right? Like you can lose gains from a potential bet. But if you are holding cash and the market goes up, it's better than holding, but it's better than being in and the market goes down, right? I think that's something I've learned. And the market's going to be volatile, so you'll always have an opportunity to get back in.
All right, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just a feeling I get from everything you guys have been saying over the last two months is it's going to be volatile despite the data and the movement. It's going to be volatile for the next several months.
But the good news is it usually corrects to a level where it's relatively sideways, right? So you'll see the market hit a spot and then it's like sideways, and you could trade within a channel if you want, and then you can accumulate if you want. But then of course, it's going to wait for more data before picking a direction. But I can tell you, like, if CPI does consistently go lower, we're going to see like a very V-shaped like recovery, even with quantitative tightening, because that's like the root problem, right? If the root problem is gone, then the markets can all pile back in. It's like markets have itchy trigger fingers. So that's like what we saw with COVID, right? March 2020, you saw the markets crash like what, 30% or 40%, and then immediately like jump back up within the next month, right? Despite it just being the very beginning of all the problems that are coming. But a lot of it also has to do with stimulus and that situation. So we're not exactly in the same situation as we were before. But I can tell you from the traditional finance folks, I have a lot of friends working in that space. They're super, super bearish. Like they're just completely stepping out. They're not doing anything for a while. And I'm kind of like all over the place. I'm just like, well, it looks like the market's probably gonna head up because of this data, and then I'm just in right now, right? So that's you never know for sure. This is like a very complicated topic.
Yeah, thank you. So, like the Guardians of Galaxy, just a bit of both. Sometimes, if you want to be in the game, if you want to be cautious, wait. There's always money making opportunities later when the market's picked a direction.
Absolutely. All right. Any other questions? The audience here.
Yeah, I've got one.
Chime in, sir.
This is for Jeff. Not to beat a dead horse, but just wondering about the status of R&R Capital. I know a lot of projects you said were moving to different chains. So I just kind of want to see if you had a little update on that.
In terms of, so it's project specific, so it's a little hard to summarize overall. And I'm just thinking if we have any chain or any projects that remained on Terra. Like the only one I'm a little bit worried about is Aperture, because that company was relying on very specific delta neutral strategies built on Mirror protocol. So now they're going to have to come up with a new way to generate yield, which is like very difficult in these times. In terms of the other projects, we had like Fan Fury is one of them. That's going to be product dependent. Like if they come out with a fantasy football app that's like better than the market, or they have a daily fantasy, which is like gambling essentially, but it works with like crypto, like that would be a very killer success thing, I think. So that's like a product specific situation. And then situations like Derby Stars launching on Polygon. We have some like Vertex launching also a DeFi exchange, like they were going to do foreign exchange first. And then I think they're launching on Arbitrum now. So basically those projects I'm very optimistic for. And not, I guess, no pun intended with the layer 2 thing, but those look good. So overall, R&R Capital, the projects, most of them look okay going forward. And we did invest in 2 platform plays, another foreign exchange currency last month, and a NFT platform that works on physical objects. So that's like not really a coin play. It's more of like a real world picks and shovels kind of play, right? You provide services on top of the technology. And then in terms of deal flow and in terms of like networks and chatter around amazing projects, that has definitely gone down, the volume, right? Because in a bear market, people don't want to raise money if the valuations are all cut in half or even lower. So that's kind of what the situation is. I still have calls all the time with new projects and founders. It's definitely at a lower volume. And at least in a bear market, there are less copycats, because you don't want to pitch a project on something that's failed, right? Like if somebody came up to you and said, hey, I have a new algorithmic stablecoin, and then you're gonna be like, okay, let's stop the call right here. So that's kind of, the situation with, I guess, just the VC front in general.
Okay, yeah, thanks. That was very insightful. And I did have one more question for you.
Sure.
Speaking of cross-chain and DEXs, what are some of cross-chain DEXs that you are aware of? And then is that something you see being something with value in the next bull run, whenever that comes around?
So I think the true value of cross chains is actually going to be with real life value products. So today it's all about swapping tokens, and swapping tokens is okay, right? Like it's all tokens are like speculative devices on different ideas. Then you could see them play out successfully or see them collapse spectacularly, or basically it's all a speculator's game with tokens. But once you start seeing, for example, like a bank offer a stable coin, and then that interfaces with Axelar, right? And then that Axelar goes into a smart contract that hits on Juno, and then that becomes something that works with Fan Fury, for example. So basically, you build a bridge from bank to use cashing in a wire or something to you stable coin. Then you could use it on gambling and sports, right? Like those are the kind of situations I want to see when it comes to cross chains. And so what I'm trying to summarize here is like, I want a bunch of real life, real world value applications somehow hit any application or any chain in Web3. And that way everything can communicate with each other. There might be like very application specific chains that do something very well. And then you can hit that capability through another chain, right? So in terms of just linking all these chains together, making sure whatever the chain is good at accesses the real world or the public, that's what I'm looking for going forward. And I think we're getting there, but there needs to be more real world stuff. But right now it's a lot of speculation, right?
Yep, thanks.
And right now, Curve is in a lot of places. It's probably the DEX that has the biggest, of course, the biggest liquidity for stable coins, and they are in AVAX and in other different layer ones. They will probably be the biggest all over cross chain, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think one thing to note is it's really dumb to build something on Ethereum right now. Like it's just so expensive. There's not enough scalability or transactions. So if you see like a game being built and it wants to use blockchain, it's very unlikely that it's going to be on Ethereum. Like I think Illuvium's still there. But overall, like you don't want people to pay $5-10 just to like play the game and like record the progress or something, right? So you're going to see these like off-chain things, recording your status and your steps for move to earn, or like you're leveling up on your monsters on play to earn. And then those will interact with, eventually roll up into Ethereum probably, right? So basically, again, these are, it goes to what I just said before. They're all very application specific. They have a purpose, and then eventually they can roll up into a main chain or they go into the real world, right? And then Kenny was saying like immutable or Polygon, and I'm seeing a ton of stuff popping up on Polygon. I think, was it the Facebook NFTs are on Polygon, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so that could be a ton of transactions, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, Polygon is like doing very well. I think like right now, in terms of the high market cap stuff, Polygon and Cosmos are showing a lot of momentum right now. So that's just for this like short period. It always can turn.
Yeah. Interesting too. I don't know if anybody wanted to comment on the coins that you put in there, like your top 5 coins for the month. So it's hard, and I know you feel this way. It's like I'm in like disbelief every time I see Cardano just even ADA listed anywhere. But I totally get it. Your thesis makes sense. So I could definitely see it, jumping from 44 cents and, hitting like you're saying, maybe hitting 60 cents. Won't be surprised by that.
Michael has.
Oh, we got a question?
Yeah.
Michael, chime in.
Hear me?
Yes.
So I guess the main question is what's up with a lot of the like phones and I guess new stable coins coming out? Is there like any significance or actual market fit, or is basically everyone just like in experimental mode right now? Because I think like there was some stuff in the news there, like I think like 3 new phones came out, and now Aave is a stable coin. There's still the stuff going on with Tron and everything. Like is every I guess project or chain gonna end up having its own stable coin, and is everyone gonna end up having their own type of like hardware phone or game device, something like that? Like well, I guess I'm wondering what's going on with that? Like, what's the story with it?
Yeah, I mean, in general, Web3 is all about experimentation and then launching and then seeing if it works. I don't know if you guys know Balaji Srinivasan. He's a genius guy, and he loves Web3 because it lets people play out these theories and experiments. And it's probably the only thing that can really compete with like China or United States just like completely being centralized. But anyway, going back to the question, like the phones, I don't think the phones are going to be successful. Like basically in general with VC, any hardware related investments are very hard to be successful because you need a lot of capital. And in general, VCs don't like to spend on companies that have a lot of capital expenditures, right? You would hope the main money can go to human resources. But if you have these, like if you're buying like chipsets and doing a lot of testing on hardware, and then you rely on a supply chain, and then you rely on inventory, and then you rely on shipping, that actually makes it very, very difficult to test and see if idea is good or not, right? So I just don't think phones make any sense because there's already such an established market for them. And you could probably do a lot of the ideas that they want to do with the phones with apps on the phones, right? Like MetaMask is on your phone already, and you could actually interact with applications already from your phone. Obviously, they're going to add some like a decentralized app store on the Solana phone. They're going to have hardware approved transactions. So if you make a transaction, you can prove that you're from the phone. I don't see any application for that yet. I'm sure like someday there will be, but they're gonna have to prove me wrong before I say I can come up with the ideas for them, right? But I have to see it in real life first. And then that's a big gamble with a phone. Like I'm not gonna buy the phone to try it out. I'll put some coins in a DeFi farm and lose them. It's probably more expensive actually to do that than buy a phone. But it's just harder to just like buy a phone and try it out because you have to like move all your contacts over. There's a high switching cost. And then it's gonna be on Android, right? So like there's a lot of things that it's hard to do with a phone to really see it play out, is my opinion. In terms of the ARC and Go, Go is the new stablecoin for Aave, GHO, kind of like Ghost is my guess. I don't know enough about it to make a very I guess insightful comment on what they're trying to do. I know they are trying to make it work better with their protocol, and they could control the interest rate and just have more control over the stablecoin itself. So that's my only high level impression. I don't know exactly why they're doing it other than that. And I think there's always a lot of stablecoins in the space. I think stablecoins is probably the most useful crypto kind of type of project. But you're right, like USDC is like good enough for anything, right? So I don't know why people keep coming out with more stablecoins.
Yeah, probably the Aave stablecoin will help for maybe reducing fees in their protocol or something like that. But I wouldn't pursue to get these stablecoins. At least I will use that in their protocol. Otherwise, as Jeff says, USDC is the safest option. I wouldn't have the Shiba stablecoin, for example. I wouldn't touch that.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch that one. Aave is probably it's probably a good reason. Just looking at their docs, it's just going to have like zero slippage fees, and they can control it they can mint it according to what you're staking or lending. But again, the announcement was just like 8 hours ago, so it's like we don't. I like learning from doing, right? I like playing with the protocols and seeing how they work, and this just got announced 8 hours ago, so I don't really have enough like expertise on it, I guess.
Right. I guess the main thing is just it seems that or maybe recently or maybe it's always been the case. I'm not sure, but a lot of projects sometimes tend to piggyback off of what's already been done, and they work ways to improve and stuff like that. So yeah. I don't know, like if that would obviously I guess make just that certain market better, or just like with what Julio said, you get zero slippage fees with this stablecoin. Okay, well, if there's a case where, you can bridge other stablecoins for whatever reason from another project onto them, how does that affect the dynamic of the two stablecoins? Like, will it actually matter? Or is it like, if you use ours, it's better. And if you use theirs, there's more fees because it's not near. So it's just like,
text me.
Yeah, I guess there could be an advantage with that. But then, I don't know, I guess it just goes back to I guess the kind of quote unquote competition between, well, this stablecoin is a little better, but this one has different dynamics and they have all these other things going on. So I'm just like, I guess I'm not exactly sure how it would play out on Unravel, but it's like, maybe it just seems like that might be the direction where it's going, since now this stuff is starting to happen. So.
Yeah, and just to take a step back, like a lot of people probably wonder, like, what is the point of crypto, and like, is there really a killer use case? Just from playing with all the stuff we've talked about in the newsletter and stuff, there is a world where you just go to Amazon.com and then you just connect your Ethereum wallet, and then you just pay with your USDC, and it automatically knows where to ship it. Right? There's like no interface with banks or credit cards, or like the use case I told earlier, which was like fantasy football or like gambling. Right? I just connect my crypto wallet, I start making some bets, and then let it play out, right? Like that's just a much more frictionless experience. And I do think that's probably gonna come. Like that seems so obvious. It's just so easy, and there's really no involvement with any like bank, email, like exchange, crypto exchange, right? It's just completely seamless doing that kind of technology, right? So Web3 in general, I think that's where things have to go. And that you're going to see some other things like communication, messaging, and all, NFTs, like selling memberships and getting into events with like your crypto wallet instead. And then the cool thing about crypto wallet is you carry it around with you. Like it has all your history from any app you've interacted with. Whereas today in Web2, all your history is stored in silos on the apps that you interact with, right? If you go to Facebook, all your data is in Facebook. No other app can actually use it unless you connect to it and ask for permission to show all your contacts or whatever. But with Web3, it's like you bring it with you, and then you could choose the permissions as well. It's like Lens protocol. It mints an NFT of your followers, and basically anybody that has, or any crypto wallet with the followers goes around with you to any app you interact with that you connect to, right? And you could choose to let it connect or not. Like all this like technology is extremely high potential, right? It's just like very obvious to, if you've used like all these apps that we've done, but to the outside world, it's just like, man, all these tokens are like all scams, and people are just losing money, right, in crypto. And honestly, crypto has fallen pretty much in line with NASDAQ. So you could call all these other fintech scams too, right? And it's not true. They're just terrible business models and high burn rate. But it's, their business model is not accounting for profit. It's just accounting for growth. And to some extent, crypto is kind of like that. It's not really going for growth, but people just dive in, they ape into everything, and it shoots up. So it's kind of like a similar problem, but that's why the valuations are kind of like in line.
Okay.
I just went on a rant.
Oh, it's good. It's super interesting.
And the thing with the stable coins, Michael, is that you really want they have a huge liquidity to you being able to stay calm holding it. USDC is definitely the safest play, and the adoption of the stable coin is really important. You don't want to try out new stable coins and see what happens, because what you really want with stable coin is that keep stable. So the less liquidity it has, the more danger to lose that.
Right.
Back.
Right. And I guess I figure someone who would use Aave a lot more, I guess they would be more prone to, oh, they have a new stable coin. Let me use that. If it's good, if it works for me, oh, I guess I'll use that from now on. I guess just as a thought experiment. So I guess just looking to see what connections there are with just some of the stuff that we do now and what's, I guess, trying to be developed. But yeah, okay.
All right. Philippe, did you have another question because your hand was still up, or?
Sorry, I'll put
my hand on the side. Go ahead.
Put my hand down. No, that just because followers, contacts, and business, mail lists, all that is really valuable for companies. And so you mentioned there's a company I wasn't aware of. So Lens protocol, is that, Jeff, you put that in there?
Yeah, there's a few social media protocols, but I think Lens is the most prominent. Also, Aave owns Lens protocol, by the way. So like we're all like talking about Aave today, I guess. But Lens protocol is just very, the way they've set it up is very interesting because just taking a step back, the technology is again minting an NFT of your handle, and then people can follow your handle, and that just mints NFTs to, I forgot which wallet. I think it goes to their wallet. So if I'm Jeff at .lens, someone can mint Jeff.lens follower NFT, and it goes into their wallet. So that's all Lens protocol is. But now let's say someone builds Twitter on top of on this protocol, which they have, and or they build Instagram. Then anytime I connect my wallet into the platform, everybody that was following me that has an NFT of my handle will show up in as a follower. So you're pretty much bringing your social graph with you to any of these platforms, whereas you can't really do that today. If I go to Twitter right now, I got to start from scratch, get a new following. I go to Facebook, I have to start from scratch, build a following there, and then they own that following, right? Twitter owns the social graph, Facebook owns the social graph. But right now, Lens protocol, you own the social graph, and it follows you, and you can choose how you want to use it, right? Anyways, cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions?
I wanted to point out TL said Axelar token is going live July 14.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's but maybe not a good idea to buy at that point because it will airdrop it, and maybe not a good day to buy it.
Oh, so we should probably be using the Axelar satellite a lot just to get a bigger airdrop, right? I don't know if it's a fixed airdrop though.
Yeah. Sorry, I did, after you mentioned it, Jeff, I took a quick search here and looked at it, and it looks like there was some sort of community sale on the coin list, and then now they're going to be releasing that in like 3 chunks starting on July 14th. And the tokenomics didn't look great. They were like pretty team, and then there's another one that said like backers was like a large percentage. So and so it looks like they're just going to be releasing a bit of the community sale immediately, so price might just like jump but then like dump back down kind of thing. So yeah, it goes out next week, but then definitely one to monitor, I think.
One red flag of a token is whether or not it's required to use the protocol. And like Axelar is working fine right now without any token, right? So whenever they release a token, it's like, oh, it's going to be for governance, and it's just going to be for voting, and like, if it's a major project like Uniswap, right? Like that is a big deal, or like Curve, right? Everyone's trying to get Curve tokens so that they can use it to get more rewards, I guess, but the fees. But overall, it's like that's usually a red flag. Is like if the platform itself does not even need the tokens, then it's probably not that useful, right? Ryan, you had your hand up.
Jeff, I was curious, with the midterm elections coming up, could you see that potentially QE could start again?
It's a good question. I think it again relies on the data. I don't know if QE would start. I think the interest rate hikes though might. So basically, if inflation has already tapered off or even comes down, then they might actually go back to cutting rates again. And that, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. That's probably going to be like next year.
Yeah. Right? Next year, yeah.
Because if they did it now, it wouldn't make sense. It's like, we were trying to tackle inflation, but it looks okay. Let's just cut it back, right?
Yeah. Right.
And I try not to like get like, I don't know if like I think Powell started cutting interest rates and then he stopped in 2018, I think, or 2019, right? I don't know if there's like some political thing going on there, and I don't know if something political is going to happen in midterms, but I don't think they would do that anymore, because like the situation is pretty dire. Because if you start cutting rates now, and stagflation is a threat, like you might get caught in that loop you can't get out of, right? So again, this is very complex stuff, but I don't think they would start cutting rates anytime soon, or buying back bonds for the QE part.
Thank you.
Yeah, QE is essentially, I guess, keeping the bond, like they're buying the bonds back, and I think it keeps the rates low, and then it makes everybody else more incentivized to like invest in other stuff. I think it's probably a better answer, the better explanation.
Oh, that was good. You kept it simple. That was good. I was wondering where you were going to go with that.
Alexander, you got your hand up?
Yeah, so kind of switching directions here a little bit. I wanted to talk about chain specific NFT marketplaces. How do you see that going, especially with, these big centralized exchanges or companies like Meta or Coinbase making their own NFT marketplace?
So it's too late, right? Coinbase, I believe their volume was like 1 Ethereum per day.
Awful.
Like nobody's using Coinbase NFT. And if I were running that platform, what I would do is I'd sign up some exclusive NFTs that only launch on Coinbase NFT. I'd probably make it non-self-custody, because Coinbase NFT, you plug in your wallet, you use that as your identity, and it behaves exactly like OpenSea, but just with a much crappier order book, right? So I think with NFT marketplaces, order book is huge because you have less, is it slippage? Like less variance between the different things that are on the market, right? Like you don't want to buy something that's the floor is 1 Ethereum, but the next one's like 1.3 Ethereum and then 1.5 Ethereum. Like you want something that's like 1 Ethereum, 1.01, 1.02, and then you could choose which one you want, right? That's like a much better experience. And that's what OpenSea has that really none of the other marketplaces have. And I think when it comes to NFT marketplaces, a large order book is extremely important. It's not like crypto where, oh, I have 1 Ethereum here and 1 Ethereum here. Which one do I want? I'm always going to choose the cheapest Ethereum, right? So basically, that's like the whole fungibility aspect of crypto. Which and I'll let Jim kind of answer this question too.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful to see more competition. I would say, with these marketplaces, especially with Magic Eden, and just where they've taken things, and I think you'll see they'll be incentivized. OpenSea will be incentivized more. I mean, constantly lagging. There's always issues, but I think now they'll be more incentivized to put, to make things better for the user, and competition is good for the marketplace overall. So, as I've been talking about, on Meta for a while, it's really interesting to see the progression as they've taken over on the Solana chain, right? Which we know is the #2 chain in terms of, NFTs being traded, but to see the progress that they've made over the course of this year alone, in the past 6 months, Magic Eden I'm talking about, is quite impressive. So I think we're going to see more of that. And to, I share Jeff's sentiments too. I mean, Coinbase, what an utter failure that was. The timing of the launch too wasn't really all that helpful. But yeah, I totally agree about getting a couple of exclusive projects to launch on there. Otherwise, that's not going anywhere.
So Magic Eden actually has a bigger order book than OpenSea.
They do. I was going to say, yeah, they do, which is, it's wild, right?
For Solana, but yeah.
Solana.
It's first mover advantage.
But first mover advantage, there have been days where the volume has been higher on Magic Eden than OpenSea too, which is pretty remarkable. If you had told me 6 months ago that would happen, I would have told you you're crazy. And just the overall experience on there, and the money that they raised. We talked about this maybe 2 weeks ago. So yeah, they really have their act together. Very impressed.
And kind of picking back off of that, what can other chains, let's take Avalanche, for example, and they've got their own NFT marketplace.
Right.
How can they improve? Is it just, community or?
Well, the quality of I got to be honest, the quality of the projects. Just go look at just even the art. Without even looking at utility, without looking at, even the teams or any of that. Just that simple alone, they've really been lacking. But I do think you'll see, you pick the chain that I think down the road could do really well in terms of NFTs. I see that coming to fruition at some point in the future. I'll be shocked if that doesn't take place. But as of now, that would be the biggest. You need to draw a quality team. Like Solana has done that. You're seeing a lot more quality teams. There's still a lot of rug pulls. Don't get me wrong, but there are more quality teams and just developers that are moving over to that chain, and that's why you see more opportunity. That's why you see more people talking about Solana-based NFTs.
Yeah, and the marketplaces in that example in Avalanche, these marketplaces as Calao or others.
Yeah, right.
They don't have. They promised a lot, but they haven't done what they promised.
Sounds like crypto in a nutshell.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. But I mean, even other chains like Near, I mean, I've really tried to, to dig into some of the other chains and some of the NFT projects. And it's just, again, ETH, they're, with the first mover advantage, and even with the high gas fees, at the end of the day, that's where the quality stuff is launching. There's just no two ways about it.
I think they're asking, I mean, in general, NFT as a technology is kind of asking the wrong question, because right now NFTs is like, it's just like tokens, like people are just minting them and people are speculating on them, and they don't really have real world value for some cases, right? Some cases, like I think the ones that okay, like just to be honest, like the most important ones are the ones that you can show off, right? Those are the most like valuable NFTs.
Flex, you can flex.
And, and then I think the second tier would be like membership tokens into either Discords or into, I guess, like what I mentioned earlier, high net worth individuals, maybe even meeting celebrities. And I think where NFTs probably will go is like tokenizing the ability to, I guess, jump ahead of wait lists, to like sell off like tickets, right? I think like access to different venues. These are all things I think are good for NFTs. And it takes like the art piece out, because like the art piece again is kind of just like fluff right now. There's so many NFTs out there that only focus on art, and it's getting saturated. So I think it will get there. Like if you have purchased an NFT on OpenSea and then used it to do something like get into like an event, it's actually very, again, frictionless, and the experience is great. And I think that will be the future, but it's going to take some time. And I think we again, until that time happens, it's all about just noise and marketing, and whoever can get like the most like press coverage of their NFT. And then it's going to seem very lame, and then the media will say it's a scam. Like it's just the same cycle over and over again, right?
Same cycle, absolutely. Hey, I think you're on the same page as me. Looking at something like Moonbirds, you haven't grabbed a Moonbird yet, right?
Because I have an oddity. List. The oddity was cheap.
You have an oddity?
Yeah.
But the Moonbirds, the floor went down to maybe it went down to like 12 or maybe a little bit higher than that. And now to see it skyrocket again. And I still think there'll be great buying opportunities for the blue chip NFT projects. I don't think many, and to your point, a lot of these PFP collections, they're not going to stand the test of time. A lot of them are absolutely going to go to zero. There's really nothing about them, but the really good ones. But that's one that I'm looking at. When I was at NFT NYC, that was one of the events that was very captivating. Doug's on the call with us, or the meeting in here, and I was his guest for Proof Collective and Moonbirds, nice. And that was really a lot of fun. And I highly esteem what Kevin Rose, obviously what he's doing. You bet on people, right? Whether it's a Gary V or a Rose, people like that. But he's one of those people that I think smart play.
You guys, I want to. Sorry.
I don't want to take us off on just NFT talk. So yeah, if you want to draw it back.
No, but I want to add to the NFTs. Do you think, guys, the NFTs, the properties on NFTs beyond the art and the PFP, it's going to happen any soon? It's going somewhere.
Yeah, of course. Like gaming, of course. I think eventually everything's going to be have an economic model. I'll just say there'll be more like incentives to play games, and I think there's been too much noise in that area. Like GameFi just got way too saturated as well. But that will be the model going forward. It's like if I play this game, there's already, they do that with cell phone games. There's already ways to like earn some sort of unit of measurement that you can trade for in-game goods or to external like money, right? So I think that will happen, and it is happening. But in general, NFTs, and again, we're talking a little too much about NFTs, but in general, NFTs are just like they've gotten so much noise and so much marketing that a lot of the important stuff, the important features that they should be going for, are getting lost in the translation, right?
Yeah, hopefully it weeds out a lot of the bad actors and just the teams that aren't really developing or innovating at all in the space. So that's what I look at, like this bear market. I'm hoping it flushes out a lot of that, and we see a lot more innovation as teams build and they really work. Well, anything else general crypto stuff that people want to talk about,
or just anything else, really?
Anything? Yeah, we got a couple of minutes. Could be personal stuff. No, anything relating to Life, anything. Dot. What? Dot. Polka dot. Oh, anything about the dot crowd loans? Well, I mean, when you threw your dot in there, right? We knew it was a long wait. What are we, 2 years?
I think it's 1 year left. A
Year
lot of
left?
a lot of the dot ones
remember.
have already been over 1 year. I think Kusama is already giving
Are you sure?
their
Really?
KSM back.
Yeah. Kusama's that was May, last May of 21. I want to say we started
Yeah. I think
somewhere in that vicinity.
yeah.
Kusama.
In general, Polkadot's been very quiet. There's just
I know, absolutely.
Yeah, like Hydra DX, we talked about that ICO like I have no idea when, like a long time ago. And they literally just came out with their parachain that went live maybe this week. And it took me a lot of work just to find the tokens. Like I had to the interface is just terrible. And I know Polkadot's releasing a new interface, but in general, Polkadot just has a lot of improvements they need to do to their UI. And then when those projects finally come out and they're easier to interact with, then I'll get some info on how good they are. Because right now, nobody's talking about Polkadot right now. It's just like so hard to use. And that's their fault.
Ryan, you have a question. Go on.
Jeff, if crypto didn't exist, what kind of businesses would you go after?
Very interesting. In terms of investing wise, I probably would have gone for fintechs because there's just so much pain point. I read a book recently, and it was an interesting quote that said, create a painkiller, don't create a vitamin," which means like if you solve a pain point, then people will definitely use it. Like if you create an enhancement, which is what crypto is kind of doing, just creating enhancement after enhancement, it doesn't really guarantee people are going to use it, right? It's just something that's just novel and new. So fintech, there's a lot of problems they're going to solve, but it got a little bit crowded there too. I think buy now, pay later is terrible. I think like it's contributing to inflation actually, because people are able to afford the higher prices now. But in general, like any fintech that's like making it easier, like I think Robinhood did a great job on the like stock interface to make it very accessible to millennials and Gen Z. And then what are some other ones? I mean, a lot of the like Square and Venmo and PayPal, like crypto stuff is just already, we're already used to it in our world, right? So it's nothing that special. And then in terms of outside of crypto and fintech, there's a lot of SaaS-based companies that are solving a lot of problems. So like if you look at the whole stack of a business running, you can find a startup for any piece of the stack. And I think like those have all done really well. Like if you've I guess invested in them or used or subscribed to them, those are all great products that I would try to invest in if I could. And then a lot of the if you look at just what you use during the day, like taking notes or using email or using your calendar, there's a lot of startups that are improving that as well. So a lot of just the basic tech stuff is very exciting. So that's all tech related, actually, right? If you think about it, everything is finance and tech related. If you look outside of finance and tech, I don't know if I had the expertise to invest in like all the newer energy stuff or the new biotech stuff. So I probably wouldn't, but there's obviously a lot of potential there, right? A lot of pain in a lot of those products. And yeah, I think that's, obviously the new energy and solar and all that stuff is great. And I have a lot of Tesla. I invested that when it was like $7. Yeah. So I'm
you were
I'm
in
all
at
for
7.
that.
You got in at 7.
That's like post split number. I think it was like $32, right? Without the split number. Yeah.
Right.
But my philosophy is just always be early. And even if it's a little bit, or even if you go through the volatility, as long as you're early, it can be very lucrative and it can be life changing too, right? And I think a lot of problem with in general overall retail is they wait too long and then they see like Doge pumping or Shiba Inu pumping and they want to buy it because it's pumping, and that's obviously not the right time to buy it, right? You don't want to buy something as it's pumping and like everybody knows about it. If everybody knows about something, then I'm sure it's probably too late to buy it, right? And we
that's
talked
even
about
like ENSs. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, like we talked about like Axelar earlier. I don't think anybody knows what Axelar is, right? Like if you go out and ask people, I doubt anybody's gonna know, right?
Nobody. Yeah.
Yeah. But obviously we don't know if that's gonna get attraction or get prominent. We don't know. That's the point of this whole like program, is just like find out things that are very useful, very that could be valuable, right? And then just
could be
there
valuable
early.
Yeah. I was even saying that today when I made the video for Meta about ENS, the domains, and too many people know, everybody's talking about it. So, I mean, you're late to the game by a good while. And I think the floor on the 3-digit ones is around 30 ETH right now.
Yep.
So, right. It's pretty crazy.
And even if you paid just a very small amount for any domain, like in the very beginning of ENS, the airdrop hit $10,000 per domain you minted. So I think I had like,
wow.
I didn't know that.
Is that right?
Yeah, I had like $80,000 just like airdropped, and I was
just
like, cool.
Airdrop to you.
Yeah, but I held it a little long. I sold some.
Not a bad hit.
Long, and I went down. Yeah. But it's just crazy.
Okay.
Like as long as you're in early and you're using stuff,
absolutely,
it usually plays out okay.
Hey, well, that's what we do, right? That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
So there's a personal question. Yeah. Hey, he wants to know what your daily schedule is like.
So nowadays it's very different. Like when I was involved with a previous fintech, I was like spending majority of the day on the fintech. Now I have a new startup I'm trying to launch, and much of the day is brainstorming and then trying to get the technology correct. And then maybe next week it's going to be making sure the legal structures are all correct. And then maybe after that, it's like making sure the partnerships and the use cases for that is correct. So the daily life changes a lot, but what doesn't change is like I'm always reading about crypto stuff. I'm always reading books that are like very, I guess, like that were recommended to me. I'm always listening to podcasts as well. So a lot of my day is like when there's idle time, I'm just listening to podcasts and I'm just trying to soak in information.
I'm the same way. It's the exact same way.
I honestly, like,
hey, you know what would be a good idea? We should probably make a list of podcasts for people. I don't know if those people listening, I think you'd probably find that interesting, and people can share notes. There are people on here in our community too that we love to hear what some of your what is the #1 book you recommend? Interesting.
All right, hold on. There's a few questions
Jeff,
here.
They're firing away at you. Yeah.
Buying NFTs with fiat or credit card. So MoonPay.
No, I'm writing now.
Yeah.
No, the fees are too high. I mean, I haven't done it, but I don't know if you've done it.
They're making it easy to purchase NFTs with credit card, but if you're a crypto native,
they're going to hammer you.
You don't need to do it.
Why? You don't need to.
Ethereum.
Yeah, they'll rip people off that don't know what they're doing.
#1 book I recommend. Actually, the book I'm reading now is called Build by Tony Fadell. So let me just put it here. It's been very, very good.
Is that the one where you gave us the quote about pain relief as opposed to
that's where it came from.
I was going to ask you at the end to say what it was.
There's also Amp It Up. I also read recently, which is from the Snowflake CEO. I mean, if you want to like do basic everyday things, like Atomic Habits is very interesting.
Great one. Right.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like what I read recently, really. But I probably, the way I like prioritize is with like podcasts first, and then like, because podcasts are all time relevant, and then once I get through enough, I'll swap over to audiobooks. And then I try taking walks now because I think I've gained weight over this time period, so I'm trying to like take more walks.
I'll just throw in here too. Yeah, so I'm on the East Coast. Jeff's on the West Coast. I get up super early, and the first thing I do is throw my AirPods in. My family's sleeping, and I'm either listening to an audiobook or I'm listening to a podcast as well. I go to the gym. I'm listening to an audiobook, listening to a podcast. Anytime in the car, anywhere I go, that's how I operate too. Take advantage of the time, that you have, that you're not focused on something that you have to do at work per se, or family responsibility, whatever it may be. So always trying to learn and, catch up. And especially in crypto, right? We know a week in crypto is like, a month in, real life and traditional markets and such, how things change so quickly. Too Late by Cal Newport. I didn't catch that. What's the Deep Work is a great book. I'm not familiar with that. Are you, Jeff?
I'm not. I'm actually on the Amazon page right now, but it has good reviews.
You are. So. Okay. You got on there that quick. That was impressive that you got into
I think,
that.
I think obviously the trend is to like have as much knowledge as you can, and then you see different trends happening in the markets, and then you're able to react accordingly, right? That's kind of like the overall oh, like have education, right? Like that's really all it is just like, if you can connect the dots together. And every time I do a video, I try to do as much of like the news behind the news. Like I'm trying to connect the dots to the possible outcomes and how it might affect markets, right? That's really all it is. And if you know a space extremely well, like for example, if you know renewable energy very well, right? That's a great place for you to just start investing, because you know it better than most other people, right?
Yeah.
And that's not something I know very
Right.
well. So that's why I haven't invested in that area.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
Sure. Well, that's what makes you're so extraordinary at doing that, and able to, dissect all the information and, put it together in a digestible manner for people to understand and see and make their own decisions on. Beautiful. All right, excellent book on that. All right, any last call on questions? One more question before we wrap it up.
There's not a Rocketfuel
There are
YouTube.
separate. No, I actually just set up a Rocketfuel YouTube channel today. So it's funny that you should ask that. And we are going to attempt to take this Zoom, and this will be the first thing that we hopefully put on there. And, moving forward, we'll see what other information we, put on there for people to listen to and check out. Cool. All right. Well, Jeff has a lot going on. I'm sure many of you do too. You have things, to take care of, whatever. Maybe you're at work, maybe you're home. I don't know. But workflow. So last question, what is your information workflow to find alpha? You're talking NFT wise? So, or just GameFi NFT, it's same thing. And I'm sure Jeff can attest to this too. It's all about connections. So for me, one connection just leads to another one. You find out what your gifts are and what you're good at, what you're not good at. So in, connecting with people and connecting with teams, it's just been one of those things. I'm not even as much in the Discords. It's more now I can. So while I'm on this call here, I'm talking to a couple of different teams and, just gathering information about different things that are going on, a myriad of different issues, in the NFT space per se. So I think that's the key, is to make those connections. And if you can go to events, get in the Discords, and try to connect with people and get to know people. That's where it all starts. So
that goes for everything in life, I think.
Everything in life, right? Yeah, it's bigger than just
connections.
NFTs. Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about connections. So one thing leads to the next. I mean, Jeff knows pretty much everybody. I'm like, hey, I'm going to NFT NYC. He's like, yeah, you're going to see a lot of my friends. You're going to see. So, he's been in the space, for a long time and knows a lot of people. And it's the way it is. You never know where these relationships are going to lead. Certain relationships where I can't believe where they took me. It took me to a place I never thought it would, or into a room or a conversation. I'm at NFT NYC and I'm hanging out with Jordan Belfort, like the real Jordan Belfort, and whatever you think of the guy, what he did. But then there's other people who are at this Hollywood studio and these other people, and I'm like, I didn't really anticipate ever being in conversations about what we're doing in the NFT space and just different things. So kind of cool. But yeah, just get to know as many people as you can. I got the Azuki reference. All right, everyone. Well, we want to thank you for, taking time out of your busy schedules and lives. If you haven't done so already, please, I'm imploring you. We highly recommend that you check out the monthly newsletter. I think it's an invaluable resource in a tumultuous time as you look at the markets and things are tenuous, and it's really it's a good guide, in the midst of these stormy waters. So we hope that we will see you on the, in the Telegram channel, on the Discord. Try to stick together, and we'll help any way we can, but we'll get through this and we'll continue to press ahead. So thanks for coming, and we will see you soon.
See you soon, guys.
Thank you.
Please keep it
Thank you.
safe.